Hello, my name is Emily Brownstead, and I will be presenting my research capstone study on how high school teachers analyze and understand a student's gifted student service plan and implement appropriate extended learning strategies into their classrooms. My study took place at Boone County High School in northern Kentucky, where there are 100 high school students identified as gifted and talented. Figure 1 below shows the various areas students are identified. Every student who is gifted and talented has a gifted student service plan. This details service options based on what they're identified in and is updated in elementary, middle, and high school based on their academic performance and goals. My question was, do teachers know how to access the gifted student service plan, understand it, and then implement these appropriate extended learning strategies for gifted learners in their classrooms? All teachers have students identified as gifted and talented in their regular classroom every day, and this study aimed to benefit Boone County High School by identifying gaps in teacher training and implementing purposeful professional development. I began with researching studies about gifted education. I was able to identify 3 themes to separate the literature. The first was teacher training and awareness of gifted education. These studies show that many teachers had heard of differentiation for gifted learners, but didn't have the practice of implementing the strategies. Another theme was the issues and implications of gifted education, considering the students who are twice exceptional or possibly English language learners. The third theme focused on the accommodations and differentiation in gifted education. Gifted learners must be challenged with these extended learning strategies that provide efficient differentiation, so it is important to have enrichment that is designed to meet gifted learners' needs. My action research utilized the triangulated mixed method. I used quantitative data from survey questions and qualitative data from observations and interviews with my participants. The survey used a Likert scale showing high and low points of teacher understanding about gifted student service plans and service options for gifted learners. I then delivered a professional development about gifted education and differentiation strategies. I observed participants in their classroom and then finally interviewed them about their knowledge of gifted student service plans and appropriate extended learning strategies. My participants were 8 teachers at Boone County High School. They all represent different levels of teaching experience as well as different content areas in the school. Figure 2 shows that half of the participants had between 0 to 3 years of teaching experience, but participant experience went up to 30 years. Figure 3 shows participants represented social studies, business, English, and art departments. Participant data was protected by having participants sign consent letters. They were then identified by numbers, and the data was digitally stored in a Google Drive file, which will be destroyed by January 1st, 2020. I prepared to collect data by creating my 3 instruments: the survey, the observation form, and the interview log. They were all developed to be credible and based on the research question. Then I explored the results from the survey, the handwritten notes from observations, and the recorded and transcribed interviews to begin looking for commonalities and initial coding. My analysis found themes in the data, and then themes that were found across all 3 instruments became my triangulated findings. I took the triangulated finding and created an assertion for the conclusion of the study. This led to eventual recommendations for future use. Figure 4 shows initial survey coding from the Google form results. As you can see, teachers were very knowledgeable about seeing if the student was identified as gifted and talented in Infinite Campus. But then that knowledge dropped down to none if they were able to view the gifted student service plan. Most teachers are knowledgeable about seeing student service options, but many did not have the knowledge on how to differentiate for those learners. Table 2 shows both the initial observation coding and interview coding from my participants. In observations, I saw teachers had great rapport with gifted students. They were using some differentiation and trying to use different activities for gifted students. Most of these were in critical thinking discussions. Most of the time, gifted students were on task, but when students were off task, it was because the lesson lacked structure and had no differentiation for gifted students. Interview results showed that across the board, participants wanted more awareness about gifted education. They want to know how to motivate gifted learners. They did not know how to access the Gifted Student Service Plan prior to the professional development, and after the professional development, the participants felt much more informed. They would like more training for gifted education overall, and one big takeaway was that they want more examples of differentiation for gifted learners. Survey meta themes show the teachers did not know how to access gifted student service forms. They didn't know differentiation strategies for students identified as gifted and talented, but they all knew that AP and honors classes were an option. Observation meta themes showed that teachers were using real world connections and had good rapport with gifted learners, but were just using some aspects of differentiation. Interview meta themes show that the teachers had no training in their undergraduate and graduate degrees on gifted and talented education, but they want this training. They want ideas on how to help students who struggle with underachievement or were struggling with perfectionism. They want to know what to do for students identified in leadership. The biggest takeaway from interviews is that participants want professional development on gifted student service plans and differentiation strategies. The triangulated finding was that the teachers had a minimal understanding of differentiation strategies for gifted learners. 75% of teachers did not know differentiation strategies. Non-triangulated results from 2 of the 3 instruments indicated that teachers can't understand or access a gifted student service plan. 63% of teachers in the study did not know how to access a gifted student service form. Non-triangulated results also showed that teachers were unfamiliar with the service options for gifted learners. Ultimately, the answer to the research question proved that teachers need more training to understand and analyze a gifted student service plan and to develop differentiation strategies for gifted learners. The triangulated outcome showed teachers would like support for accommodating for higher level learners in all areas of identification for gifted and talented students. After concluding the study, I went back to the literature to find studies that supported the results. The first theme found was improvement and focus on teacher training. We must give teachers the tools to strengthen their instruction for gifted learners. Our teacher training is lacking, and until we promote sustainability for gifted education, there won't be as big of a focus for gifted learners. Another theme was improvement in gifted education differentiation. These studies showed gaps in teacher training on services for gifted learners and a need for student-centered, critical thinking and problem-solving opportunities in the classroom. A final theme was improvement in school culture. These studies show that teachers hold negative attitudes about gifted education. This all comes back to a lack of training and awareness for gifted education. This research can impact Boone County High School by increasing teacher awareness and understanding of gifted education. This research also highlighted the need for meaningful professional development about extended learning strategies in gifted education. The research has 2 implications for the profession overall that can increase teacher effectiveness for gifted learners: improve school culture about gifted education, and awareness of extended learning strategies and differentiation for gifted learners in the regular classroom. Future studies can research the most effective differentiation strategies for gifted learners. My 3 recommendations for future use are gifted and talented awareness for teachers, professional development for teachers, and more gifted and talented support at the school level. Here are the references for the study. Thank you for your time.